two different areas of responsibility. Someone who focuses on growth and sales and development of the commercial side of the business, and a person who keeps everyone out of prison on the compliance side, on the governance side, and on admin side, deals with the grind. So I think Gary has the stress of growing the business, and I have the heartache of dealing with the administration of the business.
Of carrying it. Yeah, so it works perfectly well because we both have our skills, and that synergy between us allows us to not only focus on what we're good at, but then also be able to, extend that out to everyone else's capability as well.
Yeah.
So it's been very productive. I'm surprised that a lot of other companies don't use this model as we have, because it's actually, propelled the business exponentially since we decided to move ahead.
Yeah, what works well, having joint CEOs as well, is that you've got people on two different sides of the planet.
Mm.
So you also have the ability to have staff on one side of the planet and be managed locally, versus having a single point of contact locally and trying to manage everybody. So that works well.
It also gives us 24 hours of service, because with Australia, 10 to 12 hours ahead. And then when I'm working, so we basically work 24 hours a day. Yeah. So it's a benefit to the company as well as the clients.
A question around compromising on decisions is a tough one, though, because
it is.
We do bicker.
Yes, we
do bicker. We would have.
I'd say my wife would say we're like an old married couple in terms of bickering, but the reason why we are successful is because we do compromise.
Yeah,
I'm very, very strong-willed, and Dinuke is very strongly opinionated. However, we've known each other for a long time, since university, and I think we've had enough arguments that we know that it comes to a certain point where compromise has to happen. There are points too where we just agree with one another. It's not always, there's conflict. Conflict and tension is actually a good thing. But for the most part, we have different roles within the company, and we allow each other to carry on with those roles. But at points where they may kind of conflate, then we discuss it and we might argue.
It's also similar to how Jack Welch ran his management team. His executive team was through abrasion between parties. Mm-hmm. So there was always that tension, and we have that. You and I have it. You have it with Paul. I have it with Paul.
Yep. We also have a good management team too, so it's not just us.
Yeah, no, but I was going to say even further. So that tension and that abrasion happens with Amelia.
Yes.
It happens with Ed.
Yep.
It happens with everyone, and it's a way that we don't sit around hoping someone else thinks of something or solves it. We actually do it together, but none of us takes it personally.
No, you can't take it personally.
It's the way that we have to do it. The way that we grow is through that tension, through those arguments.
Yeah, and
then which leads to those compromises.
Exactly. And then the next day another issue comes in, but we deal with that accordingly. So it's the compromise is the most important thing, not only because it affords us to be productive, but it also shows us that we respect the other person's opinion. We can acknowledge when they're right.
I guess having two different minds is a good thing, because I can't do what Gary does. I can't go out there and come up with a sales strategy to manage sales. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a commercial person in that regard. Similarly, I don't believe Gary can do the governance and the compliance elements and the administration of the business, because I don't think that's the minutiae of how you want to operate. And so
not as well as you. Obviously, Dinuke's capability to have the governance and the compliance, etc., is a different mindset. And it takes more patience, and it takes more, I guess, thought. Where I am it tends to be somewhat more reactive and somewhat more driven, and it's time focused. So, Dinuke has time to focus on the strategy and the governance of where the company is going, whereas I have constraints upon time. So I have to act accordingly. Sometimes it might be seen as rashly, which wouldn't be the most appropriate method from a governance perspective.
I think for the way we get around things, despite what you think, you are opinionated, and I'm opinionated, Paul's opinionated, and Amelia's opinionated, everyone's opinionated in the management team, but everyone swims in their lane.
Yes.
The opinion is made, Everyone has the trust in each other to make that opinion. But in the end, you trust Paul to make a decision on tech.
Yes.
I trust you to make a decision on sales. Right? And you guys have entrusted me to get the admin done on the business. So everyone is kept in the loop on things. There are no hidden agendas. There's total transparency. But in the end, everyone swims in their lane and does what they need to do.
Yeah. And it's you're given autonomy to run your role, but you're also given responsibility. And with that responsibility, you've got to do it right. So that's how we work.
What's that quote from Spider-Man?
With great responsibility comes
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
I think that's actually
Peter Parker, is it?
I think it's actually Abraham Lincoln.
Was it?
Yeah.
Abraham Parker.
Yeah, Abraham Parker.
He was a superhero too.
Yeah, Peter Lincoln. I think the most difficult thing for a CEO, whether you're a co-founder or the sole founder, is learning the humility to ask for help. And that's what I've obviously observed and also experienced, is that knowing that you can't do everything or know everything, that you need that person opposite you to actually argue with you, to create counterpoints, and to reason with you. So I think that's why, essentially, we do have three leaders of the company. So you and I have the title of co-CEO, but Paul is equally there on the decision making. He's not absent, and so the three of us do make decisions on things, and so there is a tripartite relationship in how we move forward, and we don't need to have groupthink.
No, and it's like you said, with all the tension and arguments that occur, on the other side is what Dinuke said, is also agreement. And you need someone, sometimes you just need some assistance. And it's also very comforting to know that you're not on your own as well. Someone's there not just to argue with, but also to assist you. Having someone to support you is very important, especially with the stress that comes with a company such as ours, which is just growing exponentially. Yep.
Of our product has been always fed by the intuition of the sales team. The sales team have encountered the client's needs and communicated back to us what they are so that we can build something that helps them more closely address the immediate needs of the clients that they're seeing now, and also approach the future clients with a more ready and solved product.
Yeah, with sales, you're driving the business forward to meet the demands of the market. But you also have to be cognizant that you can't exceed the capacity of the firm to meet those demands. So I think what one does is that you create an environment that keeps the tech right on the edge of their capability, if not just a little bit beyond what they said they can, because there's always going to be a margin where they can exceed their capability. So constantly pushing it.
Well, can I also say one of the things that we see as a differentiator in the way that the Arcadia architecture is created is that we saw the evolution of websites in the past, and we knew what had happened there. And as founders, we decided at an early point to have an inflection towards producing something that would allow it to continue to be malleable, to take an API-led approach, because we knew that people would want to develop against it. And I think that's a differentiator for our product, because what we've seen with the other clients, with the other competitors in the market, is that clients don't get to choose what they build on that. That's being dictated to them, whereas our solution does not do that. We allow them to come in and ideate their own unique proposition, and that's how we satisfy the market a bit better than everyone else.
Yeah, the beauty of the product is that its complexity doesn't manifest itself in the sale. Clients understand by reviewing the platform how intuitive it is to use, how much more efficiency one can have by using a platform that was built with that in mind. So even though ostensibly it can to a client seem it's actually quite a very simple tool to use, which is great, and the efficacy of that is seen in its productivity. But when the IT team and the tech team actually look under the hood of the tech, they see the complexity and the performance and the power within it. So from a sales perspective, not only do we have all the capabilities within the platform, but from a user perspective, It shows you how intuitive it is and how easy it is to use. So it's a great tool from a sales perspective. Well, the growth of the business is that it's implicit that you have CTOs and tech involved in all avenues of sales to begin with. Over the past year, as we progressed and matured, especially with the acquisition by Dale Ventures, our involvement with the senior tech individuals in the firm has diminished somewhat because we've now got more capability. But one always has to have that synergy and sometimes tension between the sales and the technical resources to come in and support it. But what's the beauty of the platform is that most users don't have to engage with our technical resources until further down the line, because it is, again, it is an intuitive platform. It's easily understood. Its malleability is quite clear. And one of the redeeming factors in terms of this complexity under the hood is that we can bring clients live in 8 or 12 weeks. And I think at that point, then we actually have a whole project plan to bring in the technicians and the CTO, such as Paul, in at the appropriate time. But I think we've got to a level where the software in some respects sells itself because of those elements I just mentioned.
Also, the sales team have made themselves aware of the functionality, have become very technically knowledgeable about the solution. And so they're not just a credit to themselves, they are then in a position where they can explain to the clients their needs. And we are not selling a business model that provides the end-to-end service. We're providing the technology. And so having that technical awareness within the sales team is, I think, critical to the sale. And the team have been able to do that, and it's been exhibited by the success that they've had.
And we also have a tremendous amount of detailed documentation which the clients can get access to, as well as various other elements that they can review online and API documentation, which means from the very get-go, the amount of information they have is tremendous, so they don't actually need technical interaction until further down the line.
Yeah, very true.
I think typically sales and tech are always have interacted to quite a great degree. All we're doing in the next 12 to 18 months is that our interaction with the clients / our IT team should be diminished, because it should be easily understood from a client perspective, the functionality, the technical capabilities, the structure of the platform, and we will bring in the technicians and the technical team to support them at the appropriate time. But I think their interaction will be diminished because the information available to the client will be maximized as well.
Well, as the product matures, there's going to be less variation.
Yes, exactly.
I don't see the tech team disappearing into the lab and never coming back.
No.
There's always got to be that interaction.
Well, that's why we have these meetings, with the management team on a regular basis to review where the market is going, the feedback from the clients, where the product is being developed, and then be able to find those synergies and find some, point between the two that conflates that and say, this is where the market is going. We also want to be ahead of the market in terms of where our product is going as well, so we can drive that innovation as well.
Yeah. I ask the question to the questioner, is it possible that when a company doesn't have that feedback, that particular company's lost its way?
I agree. As we said before, then you've got individual groups working in isolation, and they could be polar opposites in terms of their direction. If the sales and revenues do one thing, governance compliance do another, and tech is doing another, then it makes no sense whatsoever. So to have those different groups interacting on a regular basis, knowing one's purpose as well, but when we have that interaction, then we come up with we can formulate a plan for 12 or 24 months ahead, and then execute on those plans accordingly, which is what we do. I think the fundamental advantage that Arcadia has is that the synchronicity between sales and tech is obvious in terms of where we are in the market right now, where our strategy is. No individual person creates a strategic direction for the company. It's done between myself and Dinuke and Paul and the management team, obviously, to a certain extent. And we make an understanding, and we document it, and we execute upon that. And we review that on a constant basis as well. There's tension because sometimes we'll feel that a certain strategy doesn't work, or we maybe be too far ahead sometimes of the market, so we have to pull back somewhat. But we're constantly trying to find a a middle ground where we know where the market's going and also where we want to take it as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can bring direction.
I see that the founders of the company are aligned in trying to achieve the same goals.
Yes.
And despite the fact that there might be conversations that there is tension, I don't ever see tension. What I see is clarification of misunderstandings until we eventually get to a point where we decide,
I call that tension, but that's another story.
where we decide that the other position's been explained well enough that we agree with it, or that an individual's position has been explained well enough that it is agreeable to the others.
Yeah, and the reason why we're such a success is because, remarkably, it's actually fun with the tension, and it's fun with the conflict because you learn something you didn't know, and you can again make compromises, and you see how productive everything can be by having those disagreements and agreements.
Yeah. So is tech in lockstep with sales? I think so.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Very much so.